Hi everyone. Hope you're all okay. Happy Friday. Welcome to our webinar on status progressions. We're just going to wait a minute while everyone logs on. And oh, we've already got some people in. Very efficient today, guys. Well done. Arwen's going to be covering status progressions and pipelines today. So she's going to run through the system, show you sort of best practice on how to build them, how to plan them out, and then actually setting them up in Business Pilot. And then at the end, we'll do a Q&A again. I've had a few questions through on email already, but if you have got any questions while the webinar is happening, just drop them in the comments for us and we'll answer those at the end as well. So yes, hi Arwen, you all right?
Hello. You know I'm excited about this one today, Lauren. Very excited about this one.
Oh, Phil's on again. Afternoon, Phil. Thanks for joining us. Just going to say lovely to see you. We're going to have to get some faces on here, I think.
We have to, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, we've got a few people on now, so I think we better kick off because there's lots of content to get through today, isn't there?
There is indeed. Yeah, I'll just share my screen with you.
Okie dokie. Let's go.
Again to everyone that is joining us, and as Lauren mentioned, I'm Arwen and I'm one of the trainers here at Business Pilot, and today I'm going to be walking you through the status progressions in Business Pilot. Now, I personally believe that this is a key area of the system that helps streamline your processes. It's going to allow you to update your statuses whilst triggering actions that are there to keep your customers informed. And not only that, it's going to ensure that records stay up to date. And that is something that benefits both you, your team, and also feeds into your reporting. Now, personally, this is one of my favourite features in Business Pilot, and when set up effectively, these pipelines can make a huge difference in keeping things running smoothly. They really help you stay on top of tasks that are sometimes so easy to forget, like following up on quotations, potentially notifying customers the day before a sales appointment, or even chasing delivery dates with your suppliers. So they're certainly there to make things much simpler and smoother. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to map out your current process in order to build your pipeline, where to find and build your pipelines, how to amend them, and then how to customize them to suit your business needs. So let's get on with today, and we're going to jump right in. So let's start today by taking our first step into building a pipeline. Now, what I believe this looks like is mapping out your process. Now, this will look different for everybody. So what I will always recommend starting with is something like your lead process. And what we're hoping to do is map out that process from beginning to end. I want to share with you an example that I've created. Okay, and here what you'll see is I've mapped out each step from start to finish when thinking about my pipeline. I normally begin by thinking about what statuses I need and realistically how I would ideally like them to flow. Now, if you are newer to Business Pilot, I think it can be helpful to use terminology that makes sense to you. So if, for example, you're somebody that uses the terminology estimated instead of quoted, or you might even prefer sales appointment booked as opposed to demo booked, all of that is key in terms of using terminology that feels intuitive to you and to your team as well. I think what the most crucial step is here is mapping out that initial process. So I'm starting at point of creation. I'm thinking about every possibility that can happen from within that lead process and what I'd ideally want to be able to reflect from within my pipeline. Now that I know what statuses I need from within my pipeline, now I start thinking about my progressions. Now, what this means is I need to start deciding where does the process begin, what statuses should follow, and what options would I like to be available to me at each stage. So to give an example here, when I start with created, I have chosen here to give myself two pathways. I can either have plans received or sales appointment booked. Now, the option with having two here, it might be that my business decides to quote only from receiving plans from a customer, but I might also have the alternative here that I can book in a sales appointment immediately. They're both two services that I offer after creation stage. Now, after both of these statuses, my next status is going to be quoted. After quoted, I want to then move it on to followed up. Now, after both quoted and followed up, what I want to be able to see are my marker sold, sold, and lost options. So I want those to appear after I've moved on from either quoted or followed up. Now, this is quite a structured progression, and what that ensures is I can update leads accurately, and it keeps that consistency from within the business as well, that each lead I can control follows that same process. Now, obviously, your progression might be a little bit more simpler, or you can make it as detailed as you need. Now, some businesses prefer to have a bit more of a step-by-step approach, while others might choose to allow multiple statuses to appear at once. Now, what this is all going to depend on is what works best for you. So with our statuses and progressions all mapped out, it's time to think about our actions. Now, when you move on to update one of your statuses, you want to think about what you want to happen next. Now, just to explain what actions we have available from within the system, this could be tasks. So, for example, a reminder to follow up a quotation. This could be a notes box. This will allow you to add any key details into the record at that particular stage. This could be sending an email to notify the customer of an appointment. Or this might include for a field change. So, for example, updating the quoted value, you'll be prompted with a box to put the quoted value in. So just to show you here in my setup, I have chosen to include some examples for an email notification, a prompt in here for a task as well, and even adding change field at the quoted value stage. So what I like to think about when I'm doing this is when I click on that status, what would I like to happen, or what would I almost like to remind myself to do? So I know, for example, with this one, when I receive plans from a customer, I would like to send them a template to say, thank you for the plans, we'll get that over to them shortly. With a sales appointment booked, I might want to go a little bit further with that. So when I click on my sales appointment booked status, I would like a task that comes up for me that I can set for the day before the confirmed appointment for me to call them and confirm that they're still expecting my arrival. Now, as well as that, I do also want an email template to come up as well at the time of the updating of the status to send over to the customer and confirm those appointment details. Another good part here is with something such as followed up, I've asked for a notes box to appear when I click on that status. This is always really helpful because Business Pilot, unfortunately, cannot log any phone call notes that's taken down, or even if someone visits the showroom. So certainly utilising that notes area is really crucial to keeping that record with all of the latest information. Now, you can also assign actions to specific roles. So, for example, if you wanted a salesperson to follow up on a quote, I can set a task action specifically for them. Now, I will be showing you exactly how to do this when we do start building our pipeline. Now, before we move into the system itself, I wanted to take this opportunity just to say that I have mapped my process out here in quite a fancy format, but don't feel like you need to do it in such a format as this one. A simple Word document or even pen and paper works just as well. The goal really here is to plan ahead. And that will also allow you to discuss it with the team, and then you can make that setup process much, much smoother. Okay, so now we have everything mapped out. Let's see how we start to input this into Business Pilot. Now, just before we get started, I did want to highlight quite an important step here. If you do want certain actions, such as tasks and emails, and you want these to be triggered by the status, then you will need to set up these templates first. Now, you can do this from within the admin menu. You'll see here we have a designated area for your email templates and for your task templates as well. So if you don't have them ready yet and you are maybe following along with us today, then that is something that you might want to add in before you start setting them up. However, this is something that you can always add at a later date. All right, so we have our lead pipeline all mapped out. We have our templates all set up and ready to go. So let's start building our pipeline. So we're going to be starting from within our admin menu, and we're going to be looking for our status progression area here. Now I'm going to select the option here, lead pipeline, but you'll see you also have your contract pipelines in here as well. So I'm going to select my lead pipeline. Okay, and you'll see that I already have a couple in here to work with, but today I'm going to be looking to add a new one. So to do that, I'm going to click on Add Pipeline in the top left. Okay, I'm then going to name my pipeline. Now you will see here that I do also have the option to copy from an existing pipeline. Now this is a really great feature if you're looking to create multiple pipelines, but they only have very slight variations. Now you do also have a toggle just below the active label here. That is a simple yes or no toggle. Now, if you don't want the pipeline to be available just yet, if you are looking to do some testing, then this is a great option to just toggle that over to no, and that won't be available for the other team members. Once I've done that, I can then click on Add, and you'll see that that's now added to my pipeline list. So now that my new pipeline is there for me to choose from, I'm going to look to add in my new statuses, progressions, and my actions. So to do that, I'm going to head over to the Edit button, click into there, and that opens me up my new pipeline. Now my first step is to add in all of my new statuses. You'll see here that the system will pre-populate your created, mark as sold, sold and lost, so there'll be no need for me to add those ones in. Now I'm going to look to add in my new statuses, and to do that I'm going to head to the right hand corner and click on Add Status. Okay, I'm firstly going to fill in the name field. I'm then going to allocate it a colour. Once selecting my colour, I just have to click Apply. Just underneath there, you'll see that there is a field to flag after days. What this means is if a particular lead sits on a status for longer than the amount of days that you've asked it to be flagged for, this will highlight in red. This is a really great feature for something such as quoted. If you didn't want that to go longer than say 4 or 5 days, once it is sat on there and you have asked for the system to flag it up after that number of days, then it will highlight in red for you, which is going to be a great way of you being able to target some of those particular leads. Now just below there, I have got my active button again, and again that is just a simple yes or no toggle. Once I've input all of those details that I need, I will click on the Add button, It's going to go to the bottom of the list. And what I can now do is drag and drop that to where I would like it to appear in the list. Okay, and then from here, I'm just going to repeat the process with all of my new statuses. I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'm going to get all of my new statuses put in. Okay, so that is now all of my statuses input. So now I want to move on to my progressions. To do that, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page, and this is where you're going to find that progressions section. Now, this is where we're going to begin to implement the process that we planned out earlier. So I'm going to get us started by clicking on Add Progression in the right corner here. Then I'm going to select my From status. Now, this is going to be our starting status. So I'm going to start with Created. Now, my To status is what my next available status is, or should I say what I would like my next available statuses to be. Now, I know from my mapping earlier that my next statuses I want to be available are either Plans Received or Sales Appointment Booked. So that's Progression 1 set up, and I'm going to head down to the corner and click Add. Okay, so progression number 2, I'm going to click on Add Progression once again. Now, my From statuses this time is going to be my Plans Received and my Sales Appointment Booked. Now, the reason that's both of them is because, again, from my previous mapping, I know that I want to be able to go from either of these statuses to Quoted. So I'm going to select Quoted in this drop down. And then I'm going to head to my bottom corner again, and I'm going to click on Add. For my third progression, I'm going to select Quoted. And my To statuses, I want to be able to go to either Followed Up, but I also want to be able to either mark it as sold, or lost. Now, from here, I'm going to click on Add again. And the next progression I'm going to create is a path for Followed Up. In the event that I go from Quoted to Followed Up, I would also like those statuses to be available also. So again, my 3 options to either mark as sold, click sold, or again, my lost option. That's my final progression, so I'm going to click on Add. And you'll see here, this is how I need that to be set up in order for it to operate the way that I had previously mapped. So that's all of our progressions good to go. So let's move on to our actions. Now, what our actions are going to create is some of those key prompts and key tasks that we want to happen when a status changes. So firstly, let me locate the progression that I would like to add an action against, and I'm going to click into the pencil icon. From there, I'm going to click on Add Action. And from my drop-down list presented here, I'm going to choose the action type that I want. For this particular one, I know that I would like a task to come up when I change my status to Quoted. From this drop-down list, I'm going to select the task template that I would like to use. I'm also going to select who I want the default owner to be. For this particular one, I'm going to select that I would like it to be the salesperson to follow it up. Now that's my action created. I simply now just have to click on Add. And there is my action against that particular progression. Now I know with this one, I not only want to have a task pop up, but I would also like a prompt to get me to change the quoted value field. So I'm going to head over once again to my Add Action. From my action drop-down list, I'm going to select Change Field. Now there's an additional field here that will allow me to select which field I would like to change. And from that drop down, I'll select quoted value net. Once I've done that, I'll click on add once again. So now to recap, when I go from either plans received or sales appointment booked to my quoted status, I'm going to have a task come up for the salesperson to follow up the quotation, and I'm going to get a prompt from the system to get me to change the quoted value field. Then I just have to simply click on update, and that has saved those actions for me against that progression. Okay, so one thing I wanted to point out about a progression is if it has a slightly different action than another, you will need to create a separate pathway for it to ensure that the correct actions are triggered. Now, this is going to allow you a little bit more flexibility and customization in the workflow. So how I wanted to demonstrate this today is what I set up previously in my progression was that I wanted to go from created to plans received or sales appointment booked. Now, what I failed to put in here is that when I go to either of those statuses, I want a different trigger to happen. Therefore, I need to look to create two separate pathways. So I'm going to go in and make some edits here. So I'm going to click into that progression and I'm going to remove my sales appointment booked. What I might look to do here is that I might look to say that I want to go from created to plans received without any action. So I can simply leave that progression as is. I'm just going to click on update. However, when I go from the progression created to sales appointment booked, I would like to set up an email notification to go to my customer. So I'm going to click on send email. I'm then going to select from my email template what one I would like to pull up for me. Now for this, I would like my appointment confirmation. Now I'm going to simply click on add. Now another action I would like to happen is I would like a task to come up for me as a reminder to give my customer a call one day before their sales appointment to confirm that appointment. Now I'm also going to set that task for the salesperson for them to call them. So I've selected that from my default owner. I can now click on add. And there once again are my two actions that I would like against this particular progression. I can now click on add and you'll see here that I've created those two pathways. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've completed my actions against my necessary progressions in here. I have got a list of my new statuses. I'm happy with those. Therefore, I now have a fully functioning new lead pipeline. What I'd like to take us through next is how we can see that in action in one of our live leads and how that looks from an operating point of view for the user. Okay, so like I said, we now have a fully functioning pipeline. So I thought now felt like a really good time just to recap with what we have achieved so far. So we started out by mapping our internal process in order to create our statuses for our new pipeline. We've then gone in and created our new pipeline, organised our statuses, set up our progressions, and added our actions against the right statuses. So now feels like a really great time to see everything in action. So I'm going to jump into a live lead and I'm going to test out our new pipeline. So I'm going to head into my live leads area and I'm going to head into my top lead here. Now I would like to point out I have gone ahead and I've put this into my new business pilot pipeline. As well as that, I have booked an appointment, a sales appointment specifically, for Tuesday at 11 a.m. Therefore, when referring to my pipeline, I'm starting at created, but due to the fact that I've already booked my sales appointment for Tuesday, I'm going to update my status to say sales appointment booked. Now you'll see here that that's brought me up my task, reminding me to give them a call the day before to confirm the appointment. So with that in mind, I'm going to select my date due by, and I'm going to put that on for Monday morning. Then I can simply click on add. Then you'll see that an email is generated for me here to be able to send this to my customer confirming their booking. Now I would like to point out a quick tip here that there is your customize button. So if there is any personalization that you want to add into this email, you can simply do so. And then by hitting save down in the bottom corner there, that will save any changes that you make to this email. Now, once you're happy with that, you can simply click on confirm. By clicking on confirm, that's going to have sent that email to our customer. It has put a task onto the system for the salesperson, and we've put that in for the day before the appointment as a reminder to give them a call. Now you'll see that we've completed this step. So our next status is now quoted. So we're going to try it out. I'm going to select quoted. And you'll see here that a follow-up task has now appeared. And I'll be able to set this for a couple of days' time, depending on what my internal process is. I might want to set this to a week's time to follow up the quotation. And then moving on from this step, I'll click add once again. And then you'll see that that has built me up the box to add in my quoted value net. Okay, and I can simply click confirm on there. You'll then see that that's brought me up my other statuses, which is followed up, mark as sold, sold, and lost. So one thing that I always think you gain great benefit from with using these pipelines is just how incredibly helpful they are. And it isn't just for keeping your customers informed, which is of course a great benefit, but it is also for ensuring that your internal team is able to stay on track with all of their tasks. Now, another huge key feature to using these status progressions is the overview that this provides you. Within the system, there is a real-time summary of all of your lead statuses. I would like to show you that now. So I'm going to head into my main menu, down into my lead section, and I'm going to head into lead status summary. Now here you're going to see a full list of all of the active pipelines that you have in your Business Pilot system. Now, by clicking into the arrow next to each pipeline, I'm just going to do it for this one at the moment. So this is going to bring me up a list of all of the active statuses that I have from within that pipeline. Now, not only that, it's also going to give me the number of leads that is sat on each stage. If you want slightly more detail, so if, for example, on this one, I wanted to see the number of leads sat on quoted, I can see that the number is 37. If I click on the magnifying glass at the end here, that's going to pull me up the list of leads that are currently sat on that particular status. Now, this isn't just for leads. This also does apply to the contract area as well. I'm going to head into there just to show you. So from within my contracts, I'm going to head into contract status summary. Now, if, for example, you are somebody that is managing your service call pipeline, so you might choose to come in here and see how many leads are sat on a particular status from within your service call pipeline. Seeing everything within this summary area is such a great feature. However, I felt like I also wanted to mention that with some of your statuses, these will also be appearing in other grid views. So just on the topic of service calls, we'll stick with that and we'll head into our service call area. And what I wanted to show you here is that not only can I see in here what particular pipeline my service calls are under, but it would also allow me to see that contract status, again providing me with such clear visibility. Now, just a few key things to remember here as well. You can always customize these grid views just by dragging and dropping these columns and amending these to a view that you would like to work in. Remembering to always click save when you create a view that you would like to be able to revisit, and that will always be visible for you in this select a view drop down once it is saved. As well as this, you can also filter your contract status column just by clicking on your three dots and searching for a particular status under that contains box. Now, not only is this only helpful in the service call area, of course, that's just an example, this is also visible for you from within your live leads and also your live contracts. So not only are statuses valuable for you when you're working in the record itself, it's also really valuable for you when you're working in these grid views as well. So finally, I wanted us not to forget that our pipelines also provide us with valuable reporting insights. To show you this, I wanted to head into our report section through my main menu. And you'll see from within here, you have a status history report. Now, what this allows you to track is how quickly leads and contracts move through your pipeline. This can be especially useful for when you're analysing things such as how long it takes for a customer to progress from their first point of contact up until the sales stage. It might be the time between a deposit payment and the final installation. And this creates a really useful audit trail that can help you refine and optimize your process. When choosing to export this particular report, you can select the date region in which you want to report from, and you can also select the report type, whether that be lead or contract status history. By clicking on Excel, this will create that export for you in Excel. Okay, so to wrap things up today, I wanted to leave you with my top 3 tips for getting started with your pipelines. Number 1, I would say, is map out your process first. Now, I know that this one might seem obvious, given that we have talked about this previously, but taking the time to plan out which steps require those actions is going to make setting up your pipeline much smoother. Now, with that being said, I wanted to take the opportunity to maybe show you a slightly simplified version of how you can look to create that. Certainly, like I say, it doesn't have to be in the kind of fancy format I first demonstrated. It can be something simple as this, really just to map out those processes and what actions you want to happen against those statuses. My second one would be to make sure your templates are up to date. Now, having everything ready to go in the system is going to save you time when looking to streamline that process. So certainly taking a look at those and maybe adding some of those additional ones in that you'll need is a really good step to take. My third one is don't be afraid to create multiple pipelines. Now, while you don't need separate pipelines for every product, for example, having different pipelines for key processes such as ordering and installation can help keep things organized. Some businesses that I've worked with previously have actually found that splitting their processes this way has given their operations team complete control. Now, I really hope that you've all enjoyed today's webinar. Now, if you know me, you'll know that pipelines are one of my favourite features in Business Pilot. So I've been really excited to share these tips with you all. And as always, we'd love to hear your feedback. You will be receiving an email shortly just with a quick feedback request on there, and your input really helps us improve these sessions and just ensure that we can all get the most out of the system. I can actually see that we had some great questions come in today, so I'm going to take the time now to answer some of those. And thank you so much again for joining me today, and I hope you all feel confident to get going with making some of those pipelines. Thank you.
Right, great stuff. That was a really good one, Arwen. Really like that video.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good way of looking at it. I think that mapping it out is really important, isn't it? It just makes the whole process so much smoother.
It's crucial, and I think anyone that I've onboarded with as well will know that that's always the advice that I give. Certainly, just having it in front of you really before trying to implement it can just make the whole transition a bit smoother. And even setting up the progressions, then going back and putting the actions in. Sometimes, if you find that a bit simpler, it's an easy way. There's nothing to stop you doing it all at once, but I just find sometimes that makes it a bit easier in terms of structure. But yeah, like I said, they're one of my favorite things. So
yeah. It's a really good feature. Right, we've had a couple of questions come in. If anyone has got any questions, please do drop them in the comments for us on whichever platform you're watching on. But I have had a few through on emails. So number one, when setting a flag after days against a status, where is this highlighted?
Okay, I'll share my screen to show you. I'm sure most people know where that is, but let me just share my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so this is going to flag up in your live leads area. Same with the contract. So if it is against a contract status as well, similar story, it'll be in the live contracts area, but just I'll show you in the leads. I don't have any outstanding, unfortunately, but these will highlight in red. So if it was this top record, that would be highlighted in red, and that's how you'd know it had been flagged up.
Okie doke, brilliant. Okay, another one here. When I have tasks set for me, where can I see my current tasks and upcoming tasks?
Okay, so if you are looking for it in the record itself, I will just take us into a lead just so we can see that. Okay, so when in the lead itself, you'll find it in your activity and then under your tasks. However, especially when you start setting them up to be with the pipelines, obviously sometimes they're being set on your behalf. So if they do build up a little bit quicker, it is always helpful to note that you can go through either the leads or the contract area, and it will show you here your open lead tasks. So when you first come in, it will filter you as a user. So it'll be looking for any that are under your name. I think this might depend on the option you have in terms of a license. But if you are a super admin user, you can see everybody else's as well. So you can keep track of that.
Sorry, Arwen. I think we're having a bit of a technical issue. The guys can't see your screen. So we might just have to redo that one. Let me just remove you on the video. Just take that out now.
Do me a favour.
Okay. Right, let's add it back on.
Okay.
Can you see that now, guys? Let me just check.
That's okay.
No, that's not working. That's not good.
Okay.
Okie doke. Let me just.
Do you want me to stop and try it again?
Yeah, if you stop sharing in the software and then try it again, and we'll try that.
That's fine.
Sorry, everyone. Okay, right. Let's see if that's working. There's a little bit of a delay, so it like shows on mine and then it's not live. Oh, dearie me. My goodness. Right.
Not Friday feeling.
Friday feeling. Okay. We may just have to talk through the rest of the questions and then we'll do a little recording of the screens.
Yes.
Because I don't know what's going on here at all.
Okay. I mean, in fairness, I can probably explain it for people to follow, but it is just through the main menu. And if you go down to either your leads drop down or your contract drop down, you will see towards the bottom there is open lead tasks. If you look in there, that's more of an overview of any task that you have upcoming. When you first go into it, it will filter for you as a user, so you can see it. And I do believe if you have an admin role as well, then you can see an overview of everybody's if you need to in there as well. and there is an export feature on it, I believe. Yep, you can either export it to Excel or export to PDF as well if you prefer to work in a reporting format.
Yeah, okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
One more I've had through, can I swap a pipeline over?
So again, I'm going to have to describe it. So if you are in a lead or in a contract, towards the right-hand side of that record, you will see a button at the top that says change pipeline, and then you can simply select your new pipeline, and then just below it, it will ask you for the status you want to set it at, and you can start from the beginning of your pipeline. In addition to that, if you maybe do need to go back a step sometimes on your pipeline, it does happen. So if that ever happens, you can select the same pipeline you're currently in, but just amend which status you want to begin the process from. So there is that option in each record as well.
Okay, brilliant. Right, that's the end of questions, I think. There's not been anything else come through. I think what we'll do, if this afternoon, Arwen, we'll just run through the questions in the system. We'll just do an extra little recording so that I can send that out with the main recording so that they, the guys can see where that is. So, oh, what a Friday hiccup! What a nightmare.
Typical. Well, at least we didn't do it with the video. At least we saw the whole webinar.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would have been
worse. Right, so thanks everyone for joining us. Sorry about that little technical difficulty, but yeah, we'll get the answers to those questions recorded just on a little screen recording, and we'll share that on the email with the link to the main webinar as well.
Yeah, and if anyone's got any more, then just pop them in comments. We can answer those ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Send those all through. We'll keep an eye on those. Okay, we'll be back on the 14th of March. When we are looking at custom fields. So that's another really interesting one. And I will go and shout at my video streaming software people now to make sure we don't have any more hiccups. So have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah,
and we'll see you all soon.
See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.